is useless to resist. A coward's death.
Anyway, we are going to do something a little different this time. We actually, like I said, we mentioned earlier in the beginning, we want to talk about Star Wars, The Force
Awakens.
The Force Awakens.
Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
I mean, honestly, like, there wasn't a whole lot of Batman news this week because everything is overshadowed by Star Wars. And obviously, if we're here talking about Batman, I mean, we're here geek culture, so we love Star Wars as well.
Yes.
So I just wanted to actually do something a little different this week. So we wanted to maybe just focus on talking about Star Wars in the Batman podcast. So
Yeah.
bear with us.
We are 2 hours and I think 47 minutes out from the premiere. It's going to start at midnight at the local theaters that we're associated with. I know it's open in other parts of the country. I have friends on Facebook who have already seen it who are just raving.
Right. I heard good things. I've
read a lot of reviews that just say it's the best thing ever, which is, of course, what we've all been waiting for. You know, the prequels were such stinkers.
They left. I remember being 15, 16, and just being really excited about the prequels, and I skateboarded all the way downtown and just being disappointed.
Yeah,
disappointed.
Yes, but you know, there's that aspect of it that we know now that they're good movies. And that makes me want to see them all that much more.
Honestly,
I was kind of not wanting to buy into the hype for a little bit, you know, because I was really kind of, dude, I don't know.
I think the way they handled it was really good because they really didn't show that much for it. There hasn't been a whole lot of spoilers for it. There's been a whole lot of trailers for it. We've only seen one really main trailer, and we really don't. I mean, we're still kind of in the dark about a lot of things with that movie.
Yeah, but what I know from the storyline, I really like though. What I've heard from the storyline is very enticing, and I totally want to see it. And I was actually asking my wife the other day, when are we gonna go? Because I wasn't asking her about it until I saw the reviews. I'm like, okay, we got to figure out.
Right. I mean, you know, obviously we don't want to see it like. I'm not gonna try to rush to see it tonight or tomorrow night because obviously it's gonna be packed. And I didn't buy a ticket. I didn't pre-buy a ticket.
I didn't either.
And I guess there's already $1 billion in pre-sales.
Oh my lord! Yeah.
There's
no way it's not going to be the highest grossing movie.
I have a lot of friends who are super excited about it. I mean, I am just as excited about it as anybody else.
I am too. We've kind of lived Batman, so you know, I don't.
It's good to get away from it for a while, you know.
I haven't gotten away from it completely, but yes, I mean, I'm kind of buying into the Star Wars thing. I do want to see it.
Right.
It does make me remember 1977. I was 9 years old when the first film opened up, and as I was telling Mike earlier. It's a funny little paradox going on because in '77, science fiction was kind of this boring, stodgy genre. You had Kubrick's 2001. You had not that many science fiction films that I can remember before Star Wars kind of broke.
Well, Forbidden Planet.
Star
Trek.
But that's a TV show. The genre was tired then. My point is the genre was tired then.
Oh, okay.
And Star Wars blew it up. The genre's kind of tired now. With Ridley Scott's Prometheus, science fiction has been kind of dragging a little bit in terms of...
Cowboys going the way of the Western.
Yeah, but now...
Well, it's funny, like, superhero movies have kind of, like, almost... pushed the sci-fi genre, a lot of genres out of the way.
Some of them are sci-fi. Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely sci-fi.
Yes, sci-fi and superhero.
Yeah, but still.
In the realm of sci-fi.
Yeah, in the realm of sci-fi, but he's right. They've kind of been taken over, and the genre has. But I guess the action picture is really varied now. So it's not that easy to put a distinction on it.
Right. What are the Mission Impossibles? I mean, is that the action? What you would set the action scale to these days?
Yeah, that's not sci-fi though. That's like straight up action.
Like sci-fi action. What has been Cowboys? What was the last really good sci-fi? Anyway,
this is the thing. When I went to see
Star Trek the movies.
When I first went to see Star Wars,
remakes.
The first film, the thing that got me.
What was that?
The dogfights.
Oh,
that's what you don't see. Dogfights between TIE fighters, X-wings, the Millennium Falcon, and the shooting gallery.
Oh, right.
That type of stuff was badass. And it really wasn't happening, and I don't see it happening a lot in this day and age in terms of the films that I go see, science fiction films.
What's funny with that one, too, is like the first Star Wars movies you're talking about was actually filmed with models.
Yes.
And actually, J.J. Abrams, who I have a lot of faith in, because I really like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Star Trek. Don't hate me. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of it. I've always been more of a Star Wars fan, but like I really like those Star Trek movies. And like J.J. Abrams, just in the hands of J.J. Abrams, like he's just doing a really good job with the genre.
Yeah.
You know, and he's really creating this kind of almost like, it's a sci-fi, sure, but he's kind of has all these other elements too, and it's like the
the first
space cowboy.
The first thing I noticed about Star Trek to just talk about Abrams in particular, that film is that he stayed true to the elements of science fiction that made it real. Like when they're diving from the ship down into the mission where they have to go down and get the grill.
Right.
There's no sound. as they're diving.
Right.
That was real, and that was something that Kubrick did in 2001. There is no sound in space.
No, you're right. And a lot of movies, like there's like a lot of movies and TV shows have sound in space.
Oh,
And you're
yeah,
like
yeah.
cartoons especially.
Kids grow up nowadays not realizing that you can't hear anything in outer space.
Like how would I not hear anything in outer? Because it's outer space.
It's outer space. There's no travel of It's hard to explain, even to them, even to myself at times. But yeah, that was a really realistic moment in that film, and I'm sure he's going to do that here.
So what was the hype along that movie before it came out? Like what was the hype? Like when you around that 1976 was the hype for Star Wars first coming out, where people like get waiting for it? Or?
In particular, what I remember is you ever watch a show called Creature Features?
No.
There used to be a show on Channel 2 called KTVU, is a local network in San Francisco Bay Area, and they used to show a show called Creature Features. And it was hosted by, first it was hosted by a guy named Bob Wilkins, and then later it was hosted by a guy named John Stanley. And he was probably the one who had it for the longest time. On Creature Features, I saw a clip of Star Wars. That was the first advanced hype that I'd ever seen. The equivalent available media involving something like this is so vast now as compared to then. That's all there was. I was just happened to be lucky enough to be watching it.
Right.
That's how it was back then.
Did you see it opening weekend or?
No, I did not see it opening weekend. I was kind of from the wrong side of the tracks. So it took a while for me to get to see this film.
Right.
But I do remember that when it landed, kablooey, everybody was Star Wars this, Star Wars that, T-shirts, people doing the dance and the disco. It was a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just a film. It really it took over everybody's imagination in a really powerful way, and everybody was all into Star Wars. There was no, you couldn't escape it.
Right. Well, I had a different experience because I was born, of course, in the mid '80s, and like by the time I came around, and by the time I was like watching those movies in the late '80s, early '90s, like I mean they'd already been out for a little while, and like it was really up there. It was really there was Star Trek and there was Star Wars when I came around. Like there was the Star Trek and the Star Wars, and those two big sci-fis. My mom was a big fan of Star Trek, and of course the Captain Kirk, like she was a big fan of the TV series and also the movies. So my mom has introduced me to those kind of things, and then I started catching like Star Wars on TV. Yeah. And I catch like pictures of it because back in the when I was a kid, like it wasn't like today when I had DVRs. I'm dating myself as well. Like you had to catch it on TV, or if you had we had video stores, so I'd rent it at the video store. But like I saw it in segments, and I think I only saw it like all the way through at a young age. And when I was a young kid, I remember seeing Star Wars for the first time and just being like the video and just being blown away.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was like just immediately. I think I saw it in like elementary school, maybe 4th, 5th grade, and like I remember just being blown away by Star Wars. I was obsessed. I started reading all these Star Wars books. Me and my buddy started collecting all these Star Wars figures, and we were like so excited for when I know Star Wars fans hate it, but when the new special edition series came out in like '97, they re-released it, and George Lucas kind of went back and put a lot of CG scenes into it. And also I tried to watch it a couple of weeks ago, just to rewatch it actually for this podcast, and I couldn't get through the old DVDs of the
George
special
Lucas
edition.
and his relationship with the movies after they've already been finished is a whole nother subject.
Anyway, we can start a Star Trek podcast
we can have
for
a
that.
whole podcast on
so we didn't
just
start a Star
that
Wars
one
podcast.
thing.
Exactly. But anyway, I remember like seeing that when they re-released it. I remember being super excited about it. I remember actually my parents one Christmas bought me the special edition VHS copies, and I actually still have them to this day.
Great.
They're in a pile right over there. And if you're watching this, you'll see a video of it. You'll see a picture of it. Yeah. And I remember I found it in a drawer like 3 weeks before Christmas, and I had to wait for Christmas to watch them. Remember that day I watched like the first 2 movies because like I was obsessed with Star Wars and I loved it. Like I loved it.
When I saw the films, I was lucky enough to see them all in the theater when they came out. And then when I was a kid, when Star Wars first came out, you were judged. Your coolness was judged by how many times you had seen Star Wars.
Right. Really? Was it really?
Yes. I've seen it 10 times, I've seen it 14 times. I've seen it 5 times. Well, they're not talking to you.
I had a different connotation. When I came around, it was nerd culture. You were a nerd if you like Star Wars and Star Trek. Like, oh.
Well, it was not like that back then. If you had memorabilia, if you had comic books, if you had anything associated with it, your coolness level went up.
Right.
But here's the thing. This is my big understanding about movies in general came from Star Wars. Not from the first film or even from the second film, which I still say the second film, Empire Strikes Back, known as the 5th, is the best in the series, best in that series.
That is my favorite.
People are saying that this one's better.
Really?
Yes, they are. They're saying this one's better. But that's that may be true. But the thing is my understanding of films was that you went to a movie and you watched the movie. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction. When I was a kid, there wasn't a whole lot of that in the films that I went to. Right. When I was growing up in arcade, I was in like, I think I was a sophomore in high school. I went to see Jedi, and this was in 78, 79. No,
Jedi came out in like 83.
83, that's right. There had been a while. That's right. It had been a long time since Empire.
82.
Yeah, it had been a long time since Empire, because Empire came out in in like the next-
81.
yeah, it was pretty quick. It seemed like.
Well, I don't know. I'm not quite sure because I want to say the first one came out in 77. There was a couple of years, and there was I want to say 80, 81 was Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And 82, 83 was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So Jedi
Maybe.
came out. I was up in Arcade is a college town, so I went to the theater with my sister.
Please be brief.
Yes, I went to the theater with my sister, and when the film, when Luke Skywalker does the flip, and the lightsaber falls into his hand,
Oh, it was so cool.
everybody in the theater flew out of their seats.
Really?
And started screaming.
In
and
Return of the Jedi?
cheering, popcorn flying in the air to this like. It was just an uproar unlike anything I'd ever witnessed in a film. In
Right.
a group of people, I was blown away. And then I realized the power of film, the power of story, the power of having these characters come back.
Well, yeah.
And that's what's happening now.
Well, that's kind of the overall general appeal of the Star Wars films. Is like Luke Skywalker, or George Lucas's main fix on these movies was that he wanted to grab archetypes that were really familiar in human mythology.
Yes.
So that's why he kind of borrows from a bunch of different mythologies. The Jedi's were like kind of like samurais, and the idea of like empires and like stuff like that. He kind of pulled from many different mythologies.
And he adds characters in this one.
And we can't type as think it's kind of that general consciousness that we all have. It's like we tie to mythological figures in more ways than we really think.
Yeah.
On a really deep level, and like he kind of just really hit that in the hay with the Star Wars films. He kind of hit every aspect of that mythology that we all kind of like on a general consciousness just really kind of drive to and are driven towards.
Yeah, and J.J. Abrams.
And J.J. Abrams is the new helm.
He was a kid just like us.
Right.
Just like me.
Well, each of us, it's funny because each of
Just
us,
like you?
just like us, I mean, each of us experienced it at a different time. Like, you experienced the originals, I experienced the special editions.
Yeah.
Like, the kids a little later experienced
it's
the
always been
prequels,
timeless.
and now there's a whole new one. So
Yeah.
every generation kind of has their moment with Star Wars, and that's just a...
And this is it for a whole new generation.
Right. Right. And like I mean, my favorite character when I was a kid was Han Solo, of course. And like when I was a kid, like Return of the Jedi was my favorite movie. But like as I grew up, like I you know what's funny is Empire Strikes Back. When I was a kid, I always felt like that was the movie that nothing happened. I'm like, yeah, the Battle of Hoth was cool.
The bad
then the
guys got over
asteroids,
on everyone.
and then like they were the Cloud City, and that was it. As
You
a kid,
blocked it
as a
out.
kid, I felt like not enough happened because they
blocked
really
it out.
built that one up emotionally. And as an
traumatic.
adult, I realized how
my
that is the
God.
best one out of all of them because that's my favorite one.
It's so emotional. It's so emotional.
But like I am so excited for this new movie, and I'm probably gonna see it like on Monday or Tuesday after it's been out for a little while, and after the crowds have died down just a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
Like,
coming week, so we're actually gonna try and figure out when we're gonna do it. Hopefully soon.
right. So like anyway, like I'm super excited. Like I'm trying to avoid trailers. I'm trying to avoid all spoilers. I want to go in fresh to quote. To quote Frank Costanza from Seinfeld, I want to go in fresh.
Yes.
But I'm super excited to see it, and I'm buying my ticket on Monday. And like my expectations are high, but I mean the reviews are high. I mean like they're saying it's like one of the best movies of the year. It's like
good-
up there.
From what I've heard, it's got good characters, you know. And you have to. One of the best things that I've heard in the review that I read, the best part was they're so unobtrusive about how they introduce the older characters and the newer ones, giving them all life of their own, which was why the prequels didn't work. Is because you had this multitude of beings that really didn't mean anything. You know, they didn't.
I was so happy to see like the promotional art that has like Han and Leia in it. You know what I'm saying, and Chewbacca.
People
like
know.
that's what I know, and that's who I connected with
Yeah.
when I was. Those
And
are my
that's why
favorite
he's
characters.
smart.
Exactly.
Bring in the old.
And he's
feel with
actually
the
going to
new.
use models, and he's actually trying to stay away from special effects, and he's trying to keep everything like more like sets and set pieces and like
Spirit of the original.
exactly, and it's more in the spirit of the original. And like I honestly like it's going to be awesome.
Stoked.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, so we're talking about it on a Batman podcast, but we can't not talk about it. So, I mean, in nerd culture, we can't not talk about it. Sorry.
In the next podcast, we will probably give you our review.
Yeah, exactly. There will definitely probably be like a quick review about that one movie,
so
but like
be prepared.
so be prepared. So I did buy, I'm big on the Star Wars fan. I did pick up the Star Wars Battlefront video game, which is like a fighter. It's like a shooter, but it's like it's not getting stellar reviews. And they're saying that to make it $1 million because they're saying like that's what video games are going towards these days. Is that Star Wars is such a big name, they can put the name on the
put
video
crappy stuff out
game,
there.
and it's kind of it's not a terrible game, but it's not a great game. It's kind of with all the Fallout 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider and.
Gamehead says it's lame, but
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of it. With all the other titles recently released, the Fallout 4, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider,
I trust my son on the video games.
Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. There's better games to play, but I have it because it's Star Wars and I love Star Wars and fuck it, I don't care even if it's a mediocre game. I want to I did play it the other day and
I
you
had
play.
the Phantom Menace video game for PlayStation.
Oh God!
It was
oh
awful.
God!
It was
Anyway, so check out Star Wars. I'm definitely checking out Star Wars, and I'm sure Matt is anyway.
Oh my
So
God, yes.
again, like sorry to get away from Batman, but I just want to talk about Star Wars. I mean, I guess there's
We're
not
really
much else
not
to
sorry.
say. But so, respect a full review, or not a full review, but definitely a non-spoiler review of Star Wars, because I'll probably see it at least twice by the next time it comes out. Anyway, that's all we got about today. So, yeah.
We want to thank you for viewing.
Whoa.